at $150 a barrel. Well, one would say, well, I go with coal. No, because if you increase the price of this enormous mass, you increase the price of the whole energy system. Now, why it is important to talk about energy efficiency? Because energy efficiency is everywhere. We all want to continue to use petroleum, natural gas, coal, nuclear, solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, and hydro. And we will continue. But we have to use better in the electricity generation and better at home and in our offices. This is the building environment. I mean, this is buildings. Better in the industry. We have a lot of room, and not only in the United States, also in Europe. And better in our cars, vehicles. Now I go to this last part, and which is the most important part of the spaghetti chart. And it is how much of the energy that goes into industry or into vehicles or into electricity generation goes wasted, lost. Now we know that in a power plant we put 3 units of energy, of primary energy, and in average, traditionally, in a country, in a heavy country, like in a non-sophisticated, in a non-technologically sophisticated country like Mark described us, which is the United States, pretty much you put 3 units of energy and you take out 1 unit of electricity, more or less. But in other countries, you take 3 units of energy and you take 2 units of electricity, which means that the mix is different, the efficiency is improvable. The same goes with cars. This tells you how much is useful energy. Useful means how much energy which is used for heating your pasta, for heating your shower, for moving from home to school. This tells you how much energy goes into the factory and then how much instead is lost in the pipes, in the valves, in all the system that use energy. So, to sum up, here is the case of this chart is in a very strange unit which is used in the United States, which is called the quads. The quads are a very complicated concept. If I give you 1 more minute, we'll have fun and explaining what it is. But mostly, United States uses 100 quads of energy. Of 100 quads of energy that go in the system, there are 55 which are lost, actually more than 55 which are lost, and 45 which were useful. In Europe, the situation is not that different. It is better. We are around the reverse. 55 useful, 45 lost. But there are countries in Europe, Sweden, to tell just one, where you have 65 useful and 35 lost. So this is the real challenge. I would have 1 more slide if I have a moment, but But, the organizers tell me that we can stop here. It is, I say that if we have question and answer, I can then go more on the detail in the question and answer. Especially if we want to talk about climate change, I can show you a couple of things why climate change is important and is important to the industry of energy. This industry here knows that climate change is the upcoming challenge. And there are, in this I agree totally with Mark Hopkins, even from an industrial point of view, the major challenge of this century, and for your generation, but I hope I can go ahead until at least the mid-century, it is the energy challenge. It is absolutely a question of civilization. We have to transform our energy systems, and not only in the United States or in Italy, but we have to be smart enough to change them in the countries that have not got yet to the well-being. So we have to help the poor countries to have well-being and be sustainable. And we have to help our country to use less and maintain the well-being. So this is really the challenge. I mean, we could go ahead for hours, but please.
Thank you very much for your patience. Now, I'd like to bring Mark Hopkins back up, and we'd like to see if maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, we want to hear from you what your questions are, what your comments are. So who would like to go first? You can also, if you prefer to ask a question in Italian, we can translate for you. So, okay, this guy here.
So, good morning. You have told how President Obama can't really decide for himself, but has to let his decisions pass first in the Congress. And you have showed us, a model that the U.S. have chosen to develop in a clean way. So would you rather keep on developing an energy policy in each state, in each nation, and the U.S. as a guide, or instead try to participate also to a global solution?
Well, that's a good question. I think I work for the United Nations Foundation. Okay? So it's not the United Nations. It's Ted Turner, the guy who created CNN. It's his group, his NGO, to help the United Nations. So it's our position that we need both. That we need a global consensus on what we're going to do going forward. And we need to help out developing countries, which are the two elements of the new post-Kyoto Treaty, binding commitments for the developing world,